Hey, I'm firearms attorney Gilbert Ambler, and right now it's springtime. Outside, the weather's warming up, birds are singing, grass is growing and growing and growing, but my thoughts are not with spring and they're not with summer. My thoughts are looking ahead towards fall, and I'm not thinking about carving pumpkins and hay rides. Instead, I'm thinking about election season. And for those of us that happen to live in Virginia, these elections are going to be critical. And even if you live in another state that is having elections, or even if you don't have elections this year, there are some things I think you should be keeping an eye on with your politicians. And I think there's some clues into what your politicians might do in the future if you watch carefully. And we're going to discuss that today. However, before we dive into this subject, if you have not yet hit that like button, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, like, comment, share your thoughts with us, share with your friends. That way you and your friends can keep getting this important Second Amendment related content. All right, in Virginia, the reason I'm so focused on Virginia, and I'm focused on two things in Virginia. One is the pending storm clouds coming in terms of if this election goes poorly, if the Republicans lose the governor's office, what we might be facing in Virginia. Because the Democrats have made it very, very clear that they want to come after your firearms. In fact, Governor Youngkin in Virginia vetoed hundreds of bills passed by the Democratic legislature this session, and the Democrats focused on only a small number that they wanted to bring back for a veto override session. Amongst the small number of bills that they brought back was an assault weapons ban bill, where they wanted to come after certain weapons that had characteristics that they didn't like. Now, of course, they didn't have the votes to override the veto right now. Really, this was just a political stunt at this stage. But it's also a political stunt that shows us an important sign of what is to come if the Democrats were to gain all three offices in the legislature, the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. Because if the Democrats hold all three, I think it is incredibly likely that they will pass an assault weapons ban. It seems to be one of their main focuses. And unfortunately, here in Virginia, we are going to be relying almost entirely on the Virginia Constitution in order to fight back against any such assault weapons ban. And the reason for this is that Virginia lies within the Fourth Circuit. The Fourth Circuit, of course, also includes Maryland. And Maryland has such assault weapons bans, which the Fourth Circuit has essentially turned the other way on and said, we believe they're constitutional. Now, there is some chance and there is some hope that the Supreme Court might take this assault weapons ban case that originated in Maryland and actually slap Maryland down and say you cannot ban commonly owned weapons on the basis of your dislike of certain characteristics that they have, or even the fact that they might be dangerous weapons. Now, instead, if the Supreme Court does their job and puts Maryland in their place, we might actually get some helpful precedent. But without that helpful precedent, we're not going to be able to turn to the Fourth Circuit to stop a Virginia-based assault weapons ban should one pass. Instead, we'll be focusing on state courts and the state constitution to try to stop any such ban should one be put into place. Now, the second thing you should be thinking ahead about right now, if you're a Virginian, is what your attorney general might do about this. Because your attorney general is going to be tasked with defending any laws passed by the legislature. And right now, we've got a Republican attorney general. We've got a Republican attorney general who ran saying he was a pro-gun candidate, ran saying he was supportive of gun owners. But when we look at the laws and the cases he's defending, right now, this is an attorney general who is defending a case and apparently believes that if you sell a firearm even to a family member, privately, without going through a gun store and without the government having their hands in the transaction, apparently this is something that the Attorney General believes you should risk jail time for. This Attorney General is also defending the government in one of the cases I'm involved with, in one of the cases we're fighting, which is a firearms ban at rest stops and in ABC stores. Keep in mind, this is a law that essentially bans you from defending yourself and forces you to be defenseless or risk jail time should you have the audacity to carry into a roadside bathroom. According to the government, that's a sensitive place. Ditto for liquor stores. Although liquor is not being served in liquor stores and ABC stores, the government's defending their ban there, saying that it's a sensitive place and they're able to ban firearms, according to the Attorney General. So the reason I'm talking about this is where you've got politicians running for re-election, we need to not just look at what they're saying, but we need to look at what they've been doing and what actions they have or have not taken. Because in the case of Attorney General Miyares, The actions he's taken have not been favorable. And also in other states that don't have elections, you still need to be watching your politicians. You still need to be holding them accountable. That's a word that politicians love. Politicians love to repeat the word accountable. Up the road in Pennsylvania, for example, you've got Attorney General Dave Sunday, who ran as a Republican, made plenty of statements as a candidate about how pro-gun he is, and yet once he got into office, promptly defended a law that tried to restrict firearm rights for 18 to 20-year-olds. And I could even understand, to an extent, defending the law initially, because attorney generals often do have a duty to defend a law written by the legislature. The problem for Attorney General Sunday was a court had already stepped in and declared that law unconstitutional, and once there's a declaration that it's unconstitutional, there is no statutory duty for an attorney general to keep defending the law, yet that's exactly what Attorney General Sunday did. My point being, although these politicians like to talk about accountability, it is us. It's the voting bloc. It's the public that needs to hold them accountable. And as we head towards elections, we need to be reminding these politicians what we demand of them if they want our vote in the future. Furthermore, I think it's incredibly important, especially in the context of attorney generals, to watch what amicus briefs they are or are not signing on to. And the reason this is important is because a lot of attorney generals have political aspirations beyond just being an attorney general. And amicus briefs or friend of the court briefs are an important, very important sign of what side they're ultimately going to come down on, what they're actually going to be interested in defending, and what policy choices they want. Now, there are several states out there where attorney generals are aggressive in defending pro-gun positions and aggressive at attacking restrictions on firearms. Unfortunately, you also have these states that are more purplish states where you wind up with pro-gun candidates that claim they're pro-gun, and once they're in office, they do anything but and refuse to sign on with amicus briefs that would actually help make a difference. So keep an eye on that as well. In short, and in conclusion here, what am I telling you? I'm telling you that democracy depends on a well-informed electorate, on we the people knowing what we're talking about and knowing who we're voting for. And in order to effectively do that, we need to not just listen to what candidates are saying, we need to watch what they're doing if they want our votes in the future. I hope you enjoyed this content, especially if you're a Virginian facing an election this year. This is important content, so please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Until next time.